Welcome back to Proline. Last week was an exciting week. You had the big Ohio State come back. You got a lot of potential surprises last week. Auburn got down. They came back and blew them out. Oregon, I mean, they win the game, but California faked a lot of injuries to slow down the clock, and I guess it worked because it was a low-scoring game, and, you know, that team never huddles. TCU, they got down early to San Diego State, then came back and took a big lead and then gave up a ton of points at the end. Gave up the most points they've given up all season long. Did you know that their offensive coordinator had a heart attack in the first quarter? They had to overcome that too.
I tell you, Jim, I almost had a heart attack on Saturday. I think Scott almost did as well. We had Arizona State catching plus 4.5 to 5.5 points in that ball game against Stanford, and the guy kneels down on the 2-yard line instead of scampering into the end zone. He just decided to run out the clock. He could have easily scored the touchdown and won that game by 11 points, but that was just a miracle cover for the Sun Devils. And then I also almost had a second heart attack watching my Oregon Ducks. I've got them at 30-1 odds to win, and then they have to survive a missed field goal in that game, although they probably could have won it at the end anyway. So it was just a crazy Saturday day.
Well, it was, Al, and I had Arizona State as well. And I was pretty aggravated prior to that play because of the fact that they called a face mask penalty on Arizona State, which it wasn't a face mask. I mean, can you get that right, please? And that really set up things for Stanford. But all's well that ends well, as was the case with Ohio State. That was my mismatch of the year, and it was a mismatch the wrong way in the first half, and then Ohio State got things straightened out in the second half. The highlight performance of the week, though, was saved for Monday night. Holy cow. Michael Vick, regardless of what your feelings are about him personally, and some people have not forgiven him and never will for what he did off the field, but you have to separate that from what takes place on the field. Scott, this guy right now is as electrifying a quarterback as you'll find in the National Football League. He's better than he ever was in Atlanta because he's learned patience
and maturity.
He is one dangerous guy on the football field.
I don't want to see this happen, but you just get that feeling that a few weeks from now you're going to Michael Vick's out for the season. You just don't keep running the way he does and last in the NFL for 8 or 9 weeks plus the playoffs. So that's a little bit worrisome. Now, you said, these teams that got down early, and I got down real early, and I wasn't saying golly gee when Missouri gave up a 24-point lead in the final 6 minutes. It was a little bit stronger language than that when they gave up that last-minute touchdown. But we did have a real nice run the rest of Saturday, although the game of the year you never really recover from. Great rest of the Saturday and Sunday. Feeling a little bit like a beetle on its back after Missouri gave up those last couple of touchdowns. Al knows the reference. But I had Arizona State, was happy about that. We did see how you slow down the Oregon offense on Saturday night.
Yeah.
You fake injuries all night long.
Yeah.
They blow the whistle, slows down their offense. But, guys, I'm going to say this. After watching TCU and Boise State, but especially TCU, who are as flat as could be in the first portion of that game against San Diego State, watching the way they regrouped and came on over the final couple of quarters, I really believe right now that if TCU or Boise State gets a month to prepare for that Oregon offense in a BCS championship, they're going to beat them. That's the way I feel right now.
Let me mention something real quick. Oregon and Boise State have met in each of the last 2 years. Boise State won both games, and by the way, in the interim, Boise State hasn't lost a football game. These guys on national TV, on the various networks, they drive me absolutely wild. It's like, do you realize that they have been playing each other? Boise is better than Oregon, okay? They should be rated ahead of them, and so should TCU.
Well, the BCS was set up by whom?
But
I mean,
the Big Six conference.
Basically, the Big East powers. It's a lot of money involved with these bowl games. Okay, are you a conspiracy theorist or not? I happen to think that there's a lot of people out there worried about how to butter their bread and where they're going to get the next meal from. And the guys that are organizing these bowl games, they get big money each and every year. They don't want to see this system changed. You're right, Dave. Boise State belongs up on the top. I mean, I don't know if Oregon, who's better, but they definitely belong in there.
But in terms of rankings.
But you can't take a look at what happened 2 years ago in the previous year and then,
But you can in a sense, because Boise still hasn't lost a football game.
Right.
So how does the other team how does it Oregon
But Oregon's a better team this year than they were in previous years. It's not even close to
it. It's opinion.
Sure.
It's opinion.
And it's my opinion that Oregon's a much better team this year. I'm going to tell you this.
I bet you we can all agree on this. Thank God LSU can't play in the SEC championship, because if they could,
but they can.
And they won, they would probably jump Boise and TCU.
But they can. Because if this is where things really get weird, folks, you're going to have a decision on or before December 6th regarding Cam Newton's eligibility
if he's
at
ineligible.
Auburn. And what's going to happen is, if Auburn forfeits those games because he's deemed ineligible,
then
LSU's suddenly unbeaten, and they'll move them past.
I'll tell you what, if they win the SEC championship, they'll jump at least one of those two teams.
You got it.
The bottom line is this. The American public, the American sports fan, tolerates this. So as long as they tolerate it, we're going to have it.
People what they want.
I can go back 40 years doing this, and people have been arguing about a bowl system and playoffs and everything else. It never happens. It probably never will until somebody gets in there and legislates it out. Now, we don't really want the government involved in every phase of our life, but that's probably the only way it's ever going to get changed. We're going to come right back. We're going to start off with Ohio State and Iowa. It's turkey shoot time. That's right. Thanksgiving is right around the corner, and my early bird turkey shoot starts today. That's right. Football and basketball high roller releases for the next 7 days, straight through the holiday. Over $3,500 of value is yours for just $79 when you make the toll-free call to 1-866-841-1655. Start celebrating early because I'm kicking off this special promotion with a huge high roller parlay that wins today. Get this huge two-teamer and the entire week of big game action when you make the call to 1-866-841-1655. That's 1-866-841-1655. Call now. And don't forget, free plays each and every day. Just text WINNER to 313131. That's WINNER, WINNER, to 313131. And the free plays will be sent to you immediately. That's two great ways to cash in this holiday week. Text WINNER to 313131 or make the call to 1-866-841-1655 for my 2010 Turkey Shoot Special.
Hi, I'm Al McMorty. I'm on absolute fire. Last week, we cashed our Fortune 500 Club NFL Game of the Year on the Cincinnati Bengals. The previous week, the college version on Penn State. Our TV offers this year on Proline, 11-1 with a push. Our Vegas strip moves this year, 21-2. And what do I do for an encore this week? It's not one play. It's not two plays. You're going to get 3 plays. It's a Vegas strip move weekend plus my NFL blowout of the year. All 3 winners are absolutely free. Call toll free 866-896-1628. Go 3-0 for free. 866-896-1628. You get 2 Vegas strip moves, 1 Saturday, 1 Sunday, plus my blowout of the year in the NFL. 866-896-1628. Go 3-0.
Let's talk some college football. Now, college basketball is going on as well. We're going to start talking about that in a week or two. It's very exciting. But Iowa last week lost to Northwestern. That would have set up a tremendous game here against Ohio State. But you know what? Even though they can't win the Big Ten anymore, this is probably now circled. This is the biggest game of the year. They're sitting there at home. They're a 3-point underdog. The total's 48. And this is their season because they blew it last week, giving up that late lead to Northwestern. Now they're waiting for Ohio State, Scott, and anything can happen.
Hawkeyes have been a disappointment, but I'm very happy because I had Arizona when they beat Iowa, and I had Northwestern last week when they beat Iowa, so their disappointment was my gain. But it's a strange season for the Hawkeyes. I mean, they gained over 440 yards against Indiana. They barely win 18-13. And instead of coming out energized by the fact that they held on in a flat spot, they come out and they get beat by the Northwestern Wildcats. Here's the big deal for me. By the way, when you turn on an Ohio State football game, do they run back as many pick sixes as Brett Favre throws? Every time I turn on an Ohio State game, one of the defensive backs, yeah, I know, good for us that they did. But here's, in this particular football game, I'd love to be able to play the Buckeyes. But it seems like they're just not energized on the offensive side of the football. They keep getting in these lackadaisical kind of efforts on offense. Terrell Pryor, it doesn't look like he's really, I mean, I know the guy's a great talent. I'm looking for a word here to describe it. It's almost like nonchalant, even though he's not. It just looks like they don't have a lot of energy on the offensive side of the football.
Maybe it's too easy for them. They are averaging 42 points a game.
I know, but it's like it takes them forever to get going sometimes, and that's the hardest part about backing them here. Now, last year it was a 27-24 overtime game, and the Hawkeye defense, and Kirk Ferentz has a lot to do with the play calling on the defensive side of the football, really hemmed him in, talking about Pryor. He had 93 yards passing on 17 attempts. And then he only ran the ball for like 29 yards on 8 or 9 attempts. So they've really been able to hem him in when Ohio State has the football. And I don't see Ohio State coming out and scoring a lot of points in this game. I think Iowa's going to upset them this week and throw the Big Ten out of whack again.
Surprised me. And Wisconsin, by the way, might be the best team in the league.
Indiana would agree.
Oh, boy. Listen, Iowa's been overrated for 2 years. They were never a top 10 football team last year. You know, people are looking at the win totals. Boy, Iowa, they're good. They're good. Not great by any means. They pulled out a bunch of wins in the fourth quarter last year. Stanzi would make something happen down the stretch. A decent quarterback. You're not going to see him at the next level. And the same stories happened this year, only they haven't gotten as lucky at the end of games this year. In fact, it's going kind of the other way on them. So, but here's the thing. At home, against an Ohio State team that, as you said, has really been kind of good but not really dominating, Iowa's liable to pull this game off. I would not be surprised if Iowa gets the upset in this game, a mild upset at that. Bottom line is this is not really an outstanding team, again, in the Big Ten. Once again, most overrated league in the country.
Well, I wouldn't know if this is the most overrated league. Jim mentions Ohio State gets 42 a game. But, hey, they're doing that really at home. At home, 46. On the road, they only score 21 a game. Look at Iowa's home-road dichotomy. Incredible defense at Kinnick. 54 points in 6 games, 9 points per game. On the road, 24 points per game. Where am I going with this? I think the under, guys, is the play here. The total's been set at 48. That's a big number for this ball game. Iowa's gone under the total, 58 of 83 at home. I look for a low-scoring game, Jim.
You know what they do, Iowa?
Do?
What they do?
Okay.
They give up a hell of a lot of sustained drives in the fourth quarter when games are on the line. All of a sudden, they can't play defense anymore, Jim. I mean, they did it last week. 91-yarder and 86-yard touchdown drives?
It's hard to put your finger on this defense for Iowa. And I know that they're, like you're talking about at home, they played well. And home road dichotomy does make a big difference in handicapping any kind of sport. And perhaps that's the case. This is a big game for Iowa. They blew it last week against Northwestern, but like Dave said, they have trouble with Northwestern. Ohio State, remarkable comeback and cover last week for some of us. We really had that. And I thought it was a big loser on the sheet. It turned out to be a winner. It's going to be a great game to watch. The next game that we're going to talk about, Notre Dame and Army. It's not a game I'm going to tune in to watch, but it's one I might actually bet, though. We'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. Scott Spreitzer from Smash Mouth Sports, and it's here this weekend, my first college basketball to college football top 5 countdown of 2010. We've been incredible with these countdowns over the years. Hey, you make the call, I count them down, and you've been able to count the cash. It's been as simple as that. Last weekend in pro football, I hit my massive mismatch game of the year in the NFL. 2-0 with these plays in college basketball. Average win margin, 39 points per game. By the way, we're doing it again this November in college basketball. 13-5, 72% winners, and perfect 2-0 with our high-end releases. Make the call, 1-866-896-1627. Get all 5 plays for only $19. At the top of the countdown, you are going to get my KO game of the month in college basketball and my massive mismatch game of the year in college football. It's all yours. 5 big plays, $19. 1-866-896-1627. You make the call, I count them down, and you count the cash.
Hi, I'm Dave Koken, and last week it came through. My college mismatch of the year was Ohio State, and it took a while for the Buckeyes to get it rolling, but once they did, they boat raced Penn State. Another huge win on that big game, and now comes the biggest game of all. It's my 31st annual college football game of the year. I've got a record that's second to none on this game over the years, and it's as strong as it's ever been this year. Got great information on a game. I'm going to pass that along on my college football game of the year. You're going to get an entire week of my high-end plays for just $79, and it's going to include the big game. So make sure and take advantage now. Call 1-866-841-1665 and be on board for my 2010 college football game of the year.
Welcome back. We've got a game being played at Yankee Stadium. That's right. Notre Dame takes on Army. Notre Dame's favored in this game. They're an 8-point favorite, and as chalk. They're 2-11-3 as when they're favored. I mean, now last week they took on Utah. And Utah was coming off that thrashing they had by TCU at home. So they were very flat, and Notre Dame took advantage, just wiped Utah off. And they never even gave up a touchdown. I think they got 3 points in the game. Now they're going to take on this option attack. of Army. They know how to defend the option attack. What do you think about this one?
Well, Jim, I remember last week Dave talked about the Virginia Tech North Carolina game when he was talking about how there's just some games you don't really care about. That's kind of the way I feel about this game. I mean, you look at Notre Dame, as Jim mentioned, terrible as a favorite. I'll make it even worse. Notre Dame, when favored by more than 3 points, 0-12 against the spread. But then I look at Army. Army terrible as an underdog when priced from +2 to +13 points. They're 16-37 against the spread, including 7-29 if they're playing at home or on neutral field. Guys, this is a game I don't want any part of. I'm going to pass.
Yeah, I had a really big play on Notre Dame last week. It was not on Notre Dame, though. It was against Utah. Notre Dame's still not a good football team. And they played this offense earlier and got run over by Navy. Now, Navy does it better than Army, but Army's improved. And this is a big, it's kind of a big game for Notre Dame because they want to get bowl eligible, but it's a big game for Army as well because they're an improving program. And, the Yankee Stadium backdrop's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be kind of a fun game to watch. I don't have a good feeling for it either. The one thing I do want to know is whether John Sterling and Susan Waldman will be there, and whether at the end of the game, Irish win. The Irish win. I'll go with Notre Dame. Notre Dame to win, but not cover the spread. I think it's going to be a close football game.
I think they ought to put CC Sabathia at quarterback. They might have a better shot. But actually, Tommy Rees played all right for the Irish last week. Of course, Christ is out for the season. And you got to give Notre Dame, I hate doing this, but you got to give them some credit overcoming the season that's been and the tragedy that happened on campus during a practice just a couple of weeks earlier. But, a few weeks ago, we previewed Utah and TCU. And I had mentioned on that preview that, Utah – TCU deserves to be in the top 5, no doubt, maybe the #1 team in the nation. Yeah. But as I said then, the Utah Utes are an overrated football team this year, and I like their coaching staff. They do a great job of prepping this team for upcoming opponents. They're just not a top 20 football team this season. So you got to take that a little bit away from them here as when Notre Dame beat them. And I was with you on that. I went against Utah more than a play on Notre Dame. And if you look at the statistics, Notre Dame blew them out, it looks like, 28-3. They were outgained 265 to 256. The Irish offense had 256 total yards in that game. As Dave already mentioned, when they faced Navy, and that was the first time this season they faced an option, Navy was way over 300 yards by the end of the game rushing the football, blew them off the field. They'll be a little bit more in tune to an option offense when they play Army because they've seen an option now. But the bottom line is, I'm kind of with these guys. I lean towards the underdog. Army did wrap up a bowl, by the way, last week. They're now 6-4, and Notre Dame still needs that 6th win. So motivation factor, maybe you got Notre Dame trying to win the bowl game. But I think when you play against Notre Dame and you know you've got a shot to win and your program has lost 13 straight to the Irish, you're going to be motivated enough. I'll grab the points here for the sake of the show on Army.
Well, I kind of feel the same way. I mean, they didn't, Notre Dame, they didn't defend the option that well when they played Navy, and they probably won't do so here. I mean, Navy's option's a little bit stronger. They took advantage of a Utah team last week. It was a perfect spot for Notre Dame. Dave and you guys took advantage of that as well on the point spread. In this spot, I think they're overrated. They don't cover the spread very often as a favorite. They're not that good a football team. They've got a backup quarterback. It is a spot where Army is going to be motivated, I feel, more so in this game. So I'm going to take the points a little bit on this one. We'll be right back. We got some NFL games to talk about, and we've been doing great in the NFL.
Hi, I'm Al McMorty. I'm on absolute fire. Last week, we cashed our Fortune 500 Club NFL Game of the Year on the Cincinnati Bengals. The previous week, the college version on Penn State. Our TV offers this year on Proline, 11-1 with a push. Our Vegas strip moves this year, 21-2. And what do I do for an encore this week? It's not one play. It's not two plays. You're going to get 3 plays. It's a Vegas strip move weekend plus my NFL blowout of the year. All 3 winners are absolutely free. Call toll free 866-896-1628. Go 3-0 for free. 866-896-1628. You get 2 Vegas strip moves, 1 Saturday, 1 Sunday, plus my blowout of the year in the NFL. 866-896-1628. Go 3-0.
Hi, everybody. Scott Spreitzer from Smash Mouth Sports, and it's here this weekend, my first college basketball to college football top 5 countdown of 2010. We've been incredible with these countdowns over the years. Hey, you make the call, I count them down, and you've been able to count the cash. It's been as simple as that. Last weekend in pro football, I hit my massive mismatch game of the year in the NFL. 2-0 with these plays in college basketball. Average win margin, 39 points per game. By the way, we're doing it again this November in college basketball. 13-5, 72% winners, and perfect 2-0 with our high-end releases. Make the call, 1-866-896-1627. Get all 5 plays for only $19. At the top of the countdown, you are going to get my KO game of the month in college basketball and my massive mismatch game of the year in college football. It's all yours. 5 big plays, $19. 1-866-896-1627. You make the call, I count them down, and you count the cash.
Big game here, important game. Oakland is traveling to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's coming off being thrashed at home by Brady and company. What's new? But, you know, Pittsburgh, let's look at this factually. They've got a lot of injuries. Their offensive line is devastated. Roethlisberger was on his back the whole. I mean, you got to be able to stand up to throw the ball. You got to be able to do something on offense in order to combat a Brady kind of offense on the other side of the ball. Nobody really stops them when they're motivated. Oakland likes to run the ball, and they do it very, very well, but no one runs very well against the Steelers. This is a contrasting style. So what's going to happen here? You got Roethlisberger with no offensive line against Oakland, who's very hot. They're playing very well. Big underdog. I think 8-point dog here, and 41's the total. A lot of over-trends in this game, however. Pittsburgh is definitely an over-trended team at home. Scott?
Well, I'll tell you what, you said it all. I mean, Pittsburgh gives up under 60 yards per game on the ground, and Oakland's been basing their whole game over the last several weeks on running the football. Hugh Jackson has done a great job since taking the job in the offseason as the offensive coordinator. He really mixes up, if you watch the game, mixes up his offensive line blocking schemes. You're going to see power blocking one minute, you're going to see zone blocking schemes the next. Really an interesting thing he's done with this Oakland offense, and they've responded incredibly well. Now, they've had a couple of games that, when they drop behind Kansas City 10-zip. The Raiders of last year would have folded 10. Of course, they had an imbecile at quarterback. This year, they're actually, still in the games with their mindset, and they're coming back and winning these football games. The problem with backing Pittsburgh laying these kind of points, and Jim hit it right on the head. First of all, the offensive line. And guess why Ben Roethlisberger was under pressure all Sunday night? Because his left tackle's injured. Guess who, blocks the blind side or the backside of the quarterback on a right-handed quarterback, and that is the left tackle. So, we had New England last week. I'm going to go ahead and back the Oakland Raiders on this one. I also think Jason Campbell is going to be able to stretch the field a little bit when he's in the game throwing the football, because Pittsburgh does have the 24th, or going into last Sunday, 24th ranked pass defense, and then they got shelled again.
Aaron Smith.
Right.
It's had a huge impact on this defense, but one thing to watch out for this weekend, I think there might be some low-scoring games. You had 13 quarterbacks last week threw for 300 yards or more. I think that's the most ever in 1 week in the NFL. And the numbers are all inflated a little bit. I'm not talking about a ton of value, but all you need is a little bit of value. New England also had a great game plan against Pittsburgh. If you look at New England's typical pass-run breakdown, it's normally fairly normal. Whenever they play Pittsburgh, they throw the ball 3 out of every 4 times. That's coaching. You can't run on the Steelers. Belichick knows it, so he adjusts. That's Belichick. He's the best coach in the league. I'm not putting Tom Cable in that category. I think he's still going to try and run the football, and I don't think they'll be effective doing that. The Pittsburgh offense, you guys have already mentioned about the problems they've got on the offensive line. And Oakland's playing some decent defense of late. I think you're going to get a low-scoring game here, so I'm going to go with the under in this one, Al.
Well, when I handicap the NFL, I guess I'm more of a contrarian. I'm definitely a technical handicapper. And what I'm looking at this game is the fact that Oakland, they're coming off that bye week, but in their last game, they were a 1-point dog to Kansas City, and they upset the Chiefs. Pittsburgh, off the upset loss to the New England Patriots. And when you look at what teams do, good teams with a win percentage of .583 or better, if they're at home and off an upset loss, and their opponent is off an upset win, they're 32-8 against the spread the last 31 years, provided the point spread's not more than 9 points. I'm going to step in and take the Pittsburgh Steelers here, and for those who want to even tighten that further, if our team on the road is off an upset win over a division rival, instead of 32-8, you get 16-1. I'm going to lay the points.
Does it matter if there's a bye week in there? Or
does not matter if there's a bye week. It wins across the board.
What about? And I don't even know if there's a way you can enter this into your database. I love this database that he's got.
But it's fabulous.
Yeah, and when you enter into it, I mean, obviously you say Pittsburgh's off of 3 huge games in a row. Is there any way of factoring, like, okay, the last 3 teams that they just played were really good teams with really good records? Can you do that?
And now here's a 4th team. I mean, Oakland has a 555 win percent. Yeah, you could put all of that in there. You can put teams' win percentage.
Does that affect what you were just saying or not?
No.
Okay.
I not to argue about technical, fundamental. There's lots of different ways to look at a football game, a basketball game, baseball, whatever. The fact here is Pittsburgh is damaged. They've got injuries, and it affected them against New England, and it will affect them again against Oakland. Now, Oakland, I mean, they're not stupid. Everybody in the league knows you don't really run the ball well against Pittsburgh. I mean, 58 yards a game they're giving up. They're going to have to throw the ball. The trend with Pittsburgh at home has been over. I mean, it's almost 2-1 going back 80 games. They're like over, more than half the time, 3/4 of the time. I'm going to go over in this game, but I personally would not lay 8 points with a team that's damaged like this on their offensive line. It's going to be and the defense has given up a lot to the pass, so it's very difficult for me to lay 8 points against a red-hot team. And I respect what you do, and I respect the 16-1 number. But when you look at the injuries and you factor that in, you don't know what happened those other games when those stats were coming up. So I have to back off of that a little bit.
Injuries always get incorporated into the number anyway. The fact that the Steelers
offensive injuries.
Yeah, and the fact that the Steelers are injured is why they're laying 7.5 points, say, instead of 8.5 or 9 points.
There's very few. I mean, no lines maker adjust point spreads in the NFL off of a defensive injury unless it's Polamalu or somebody like that. Then they might make a little tiny half-point adjustment or something like that.
They adjust it off a great player.
That's what I'm saying.
But you know what? It's a name player. Not necessarily.
No, Randy Moss gets traded to the Minnesota.
He's a name.
He got the point spread didn't move. No, but Dave's talking about it being a name.
No, on defense though. But Aaron Smith doesn't get the attention,
right?
For instance, that Polamalu does.
Exactly.
But Aaron Smith, believe me.
He's as big of a key.
He is just as important.
But the reality is that in the NFL, very few players are worth significant amounts of points. It's basically quarterbacks. Anyone else is replaceable.
Let me throw something else at. I mean, John gave me some stats. Last week, the underdog was 8-5 in the NFL, 8-5-1. For the season, they're 78, 57-6. This has been a dog year.
And off a loss, it's incredible.
But Pittsburgh is not off a loss.
And Oakland's not off a loss.
But off a loss, I do.
Pittsburgh's not an underdog off a loss.
You know what we didn't even mention yet? We didn't even mention Hines Ward record getting snapped because of the injury.
Right.
Yeah. The doctor's not letting him back on the field.
Well, they're being very strict about
And I wanted to mention something also. I said that Pittsburgh played 3 great teams in a row. They had 3 big situations in a row. Cincinnati's not a great team.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
We're going to come right back. We're going too long on this game. We're going to talk about the Falcons and the Rams. This is a big game, too.
Hi, I'm Dave Koken, and last week it came through. My college mismatch of the year was Ohio State, and it took a while for the Buckeyes to get it rolling, but once they did, they boat raced Penn State. Another huge win on that big game, and now comes the biggest game of all. It's my 31st annual college football game of the year. I've got a record that's second to none on this game over the years, and it's as strong as it's ever been this year. Got great information on the game. I'm going to pass that along on my college football game of the year. You're going to get an entire week of my high-end plays for just $79, and it's going to include the big game. So make sure and take advantage now. Call 1-866-841-1665 and be on board for my 2010 college football game of the year.
It's turkey shoot time. That's right. Thanksgiving is right around the corner, and my early bird turkey shoot starts today. That's right. Football and basketball high roller releases for the next 7 days, straight through the holiday. Over $3,500 of value is yours for just $79 when you make the toll-free call to 1-866-841-1655. Start celebrating early because I'm kicking off this special promotion with a huge high roller parlay that wins today. Get this huge 2-teamer and the entire week of big game action when you make the call to 1-866-841-1655. That's 1-866-841-1655. Call now. And don't forget, free plays each and every day. Just text WINNER to 313131. That's WINNER, WINNER, to 313131, and the free plays will be sent to you immediately. That's two great ways to cash in this holiday week. Text WINNER to 313131 or make the call to 1-866-841-1655 for my 2010 Turkey Shoot Special. Okay, we got a big game. The Falcons, great record this year. We know who the better team is. They're going to visit St. Louis Rams. The Rams have not done really well winning straight up on the road, but at home, they've actually done pretty well. But they haven't played really strong teams at home, except for the Chargers. But in this spot, you've got Atlanta in a Ravens-Packers sandwich. And that's important because even after the Packers, they got Tampa Bay, who unbelievably has a pretty good record. So this is a big game for both clubs, but the Rams at home are dangerous. Yeah.
You know, Jim mentions the schedule. You didn't even touch upon the thing that I found the most interesting. Not only are they in a sandwich, but the Atlanta Falcons are coming off not one, not two, but 3 home games. And NFL teams off 3 home games that then have to travel on the road, they're terrible, especially as road favorites, guys. 17-32 against the spread since 1980. You touched upon the fact, Jim, about the home road records. Well, I mean, you didn't really state how bad it is. The Rams, 0-4 on the road. I'm sorry, 4-0. Yeah, 4-1 at home, 0-4 on the road.
Right.
You know, Atlanta, 2-2 on the road, 5-0 at home, guys.
Right. 18-1 at home.
I mean, the Falcons are incredible at home, and now they just padded their record. Not that they're not a good team, but they just padded it with 3 straight home games. Now we'll see how they do on the road.
The one worry I've got, though, is the games indoors.
Exactly.
And this Atlanta team is built for turf. They're fast. I mean, they are a really fast football team. So they might be able to utilize that speed in this situation as well. But, look, the scheduling dynamics do point to the other side here, and the Rams have played very good football at home, and I guess I'd have to go that way. It's not a strong opinion for me, but I would take St. Louis.
I'm glad you said that. I was thinking the same thing. It's in a dome. They're on the road, but it's in a... You know what I like having a guy, a technical handicapper like Al, who's the best technical handicapper there is, and we do a lot of matchup capping and situational capping. Jim's a big line player. The bottom line is, for me in this game, I want to see if this offensive coordinator, Shermer, for the Rams, if he starts thinking a little bit too much, because Atlanta's pass defense is putrid. And what they've been doing with Sam Bradford, and you've heard this online, you've seen it on ESPN, I'm not breaking any news here. What they've done with Bradford is thrown a lot of high percentage type of passes and plays, for one thing, to keep defenses off of his back. So he doesn't get sacked a lot, and also, making life a little bit easier on a rookie quarterback. And Bradford's a winner. I like Bradford. I like Colt McCoy. We got a couple of nice rookies at quarterback that are going to be around for a long time. What I'm wondering is if Shermer starts thinking a little bit too much, sees this horrible Atlanta defense that you can throw deep against, and starts to say,
But do they have anybody who can stretch the field?
Well, that's the whole thing, though. If he starts thinking too much and decides we're going to attack this team deep because you can beat them with deep routes, all of a sudden it kind of changes what's worked for St. Louis at home. So I start, maybe thinking a little bit too much about it, but it's going to be awfully tempting with these guys watching game tape all week long to not go after that Atlanta secondary with deep routes. Even though their wide receivers aren't great at doing it, they can beat this team, but the bottom line is you're changing what's worked for you at home a little bit too much. And again, I got to throw in that factor that you mentioned right off the top. Yes, Atlanta's on the road where they've been kind of mediocre, but they are in a dome.
But they are in a sandwich. They're coming off 3 home. Al pointed out 3 home games, which is huge. Yeah. They got the Packers and they got the Bucks coming up, and those 2 teams matter a lot.
Sure.
This is a game where the Rams are going to play tough. They almost beat St. Louis or San Francisco last week on the road, overtime loss. This team's tough. They're tough on the ground. They run the ball well. Bradford is smart court. I think they're playing really well. They win this game straight up. We'll be right back. Cool. It's turkey shoot time. That's right. Thanksgiving is right around the corner, and my early bird turkey shoot starts today. That's right. Football and basketball high roller releases for the next 7 days, straight through the holiday. Over $3,500 of value is yours for just $79 when you make the toll-free call to 1-866-841-1655. Start celebrating early because I'm kicking off this special promotion with a huge high roller parlay that wins today. Get this huge two-teamer and the entire week of big game action when you make the call to 1-866-841-1655. That's 1-866-841-1655. Call now. And don't forget, free plays each and every day. Just text WINNER to 313131. That's WINNER, WINNER, to 313131. And the free plays will be sent to you immediately. That's two great ways to cash in this holiday week. Text WINNER to 313131 or make the call to 1-866-841-1655 for my 2010 Turkey Shoot Special.
My best bet, we go to the NBA card. It's going to be an absolute blowout at the Bradley Center. Milwaukee minus the points over Oklahoma City. Hey, speaking of blowouts, that's what I have in store for you on this Sunday. It's my NFL blowout of the year. Congratulations to all who called last week for our NFL Fortune 500 Club Game of the Year. An easy winner with the Cincinnati Bengals. Hey, well, not so easy, but they all cashed the same. This week, I'm featuring not one, but two Vegas strip move plays. How good have they been this year? 21-2. Last week, cashing with Purdue on Saturday and the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday. We're going to move to 23-2 after a 2-0 weekend. Plus, we have our NFL blowout of the year. All three winners absolutely free. Our Proline offers this year 11-1 with a push, 92% winners. Call toll free, go 3-0, absolutely free. 866-896-1628. That's 866-896-1628. Not one, not two, three huge free winners. Call now.
All right. Well, you went off the board here for your game. I will as well. Big on Tottenham Hotspur. No, actually, I don't know anything about
Liverpool.
They are?
Hey, they're my team. My team's the Spurs.
What's going on?
Scott actually follows that stuff.
12:30 Eastern, 9:30 Pacific. I'll be at the British pub here in Las Vegas. Come and see me.
I don't know anything about soccer. I just like to say Tottenham Hotspur. But
Well, don't take the Hotspurs. They're bad this year.
The games we talked about on the show, I like the Rams plus the points. Excellent scheduling dynamics. A little worried about Atlanta playing indoors when they've been so good, but I think St. Louis finds a way to get through here. College game of the year goes on Saturday. Now, I've already won my revenge game of the year and my mismatch of the year, and this is my other really big play of the season in college football. And how good has this been? It's 24-6 for 30 years, and on a real nice winning streak with this game the last several years. Great information on this game that I will pass along when you call to get the game. It's $79. You're going to get my high roller games for the weekend, including this big game, my college game of the year, $79, 1-866-841-1665. It's as simple as this. If you're able to play serious dollars on a big game, this is definitely the one you want, 1-866-841-1665. You got a soccer game, or are you going with football?
I'm really, this is, sometimes when the gods really want to punish you, they really give you what you want, what you wished for.
Yeah.
And that's the case with Liverpool. Because, after the way they played last season, all the fans, they wanted to get rid of their manager. And so they did. And look what you got now.
What did I start here?
Yeah, exactly. Harry Redknapp's doing a pretty good job.
I'm not sure. What show is this?
Anyway.
It's Proline, mate.
My best bet this week, I'm going to go to Iowa City, Kinnick Stadium, and I'm taking the Iowa Hawkeyes plus the points over the Ohio State Buckeyes. All you got to do for your best bet of the week is go to Smash Mouth Sports. Perfect 100% winners this year with my massive mismatch plays, and that's in college football, pro football, and in college basketball. We're going to mesh it all together, college basketball and college football this Saturday. 5-play college basketball to college football countdown. 5 big plays, 3 in college football, 2 in college basketball. At the top of the countdown, you're going to get my massive mismatch game of the year in college football. Second biggest play is my KO game of the month in college baskets. 2 years ago in November, 33-6 in college basketball. Last year, we started the season 36-16. This year, 13-5, 72% winners. All we got to do is go 23. What does that make it? 23-11, and we're going to break what we did last year. We're going to do it. I hope you join me. 5 big plays, counted down from number 5 to number 1, college basketball and football. Call 1-866-896-1627. It's only $19. 1-866-896-1627. Go Liverpool. We need a win this week. We need to get those 3 points. Come on.
Okay, guys. Do I sign off? Listen, This is turkey shoot weekend for me. I would never shoot a turkey. Never. I would never. And it should be called bookmaker shoot, but I'd never shoot a bookmaker either. But I will tell you
I know
this.
one who you would
7 days of my high roller football and basketball plays, absolutely. $79. It's a $3,500 value. I don't give a damn about Liverpool.
Hey.
You know, but you care about this. 7 days of huge basketball and football plays, $79, $3,500 value. Make the call, 1-866-841-1655. I'm not shooting turkeys, I'm shooting bookmakers. They're blanks. But anyway, and if you want plays each and every day, absolutely free, sent to your cell phone, just text WINNER to 313131. That's right, WINNER to 313131. We'll send you those plays immediately right to your phone. And don't forget to make the phone call, 1-866-841-1655 for 7 days of action. High roller plays in basketball and football, only $79. And don't forget, right here next week, we will be here talking about football and perhaps some basketball as well. Let's have a big winning week.